Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this session. It's good to have you all here. All right, can you hear me now? Wonderful. So yes, it's good to be here and it's good to have you all here, both on Zoom and also in person. My name is Sayed Sharokni. I'm the Open Publishing Platform Manager at Texas A&M University. Before this position, I was an instructional designer at Western Oregon University, and I worked with faculty members on creating accessible content. And before that, I was also a faculty member at Washington State University, and I created content for my students. So I've kind of seen the faculty world, the OER manager role. So I'm kind of using that perspective and experience to talk to you today about the new DOJ accessibility rule. So why this matters? Because DOJ rule takes effect soon. If you're at a public entity or a university with a population of 50,000 or more persons, the deadline for your institution is April 24th, 2026. And if you work at a public entity with a population of fewer than 50,000 persons, your deadline would be April 26, 2027. So although it seems far into the future, it's not that far. So it's good to talk about it. So, and another reason for this is many OERs still fall short of accessibility standards, same as other types of resources. And also, this is not just a legal requirement, although it is a legal requirement at this point, but it's about equity and all we do to include everyone in the teaching and learning process. So it is the law soon, but also more important than that, it's creating equitable learning and opportunities for everyone. So what the DOJ rule says. So Title II of the ADA basically applies to digital content from public entities and federally funded programs, and requires conformance with WCAG 2.1 AA standards, and covers online media, including websites, digital documents, learning management systems, and online learning materials in general. So in other words, and I'm going to get to what WCAG is, what AA standards is, so later in the presentation, but what that means for us as practitioners, as developers, content developers, authors, is that accessibility is no longer optional or reactive, meaning that there doesn't have to be a request and then we reactively go in and try to accommodate that need. It is legally enforceable. So in addition to the equity part, which has always been on our minds and our hearts, so now there is the law, which requires us to do this work more diligently. So a little bit about WCAG. So WCAG stands for Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. It's an institution, an organization which develops web content accessibility. So there have been multiple versions of WCAG, but the one that DOJ is now adhering to is version 2.1, which was released in 2018. There is the 2.2 version, which was released in 2023, but that's not the focus of this law. So the law still focuses on version 2.1 and level AA. So the purpose is that for the content to use this standard to make sure people with disabilities, those who have low visions, for instance, they're hard of hearing or they have other sensory disabilities, they are all accommodated. And there are 3 levels of compliance. Level A basically meets a basic requirement for some users with disabilities. Level AA, which is the focus of the law, indicates overall accessibility and removable significant barriers to accessing content. And level AAA is the ultimate and the utmost level of compliance, which makes sure all the accessibility issues have been remediated and removed, and the content is accessible to a wide range of readers and persons. And these levels are cumulative, which means, so if you meet AAA, so you have already met 1A and AA as well. So what does WCAG 2.1 AA mean? So the focus is on 4 principles. So which we call POUR or POUR for short. The content, users must be able to perceive the content, so the content must be perceivable, and users must be able to navigate and interact with the content through a keyboard or a screen reader, for instance, which means the content must be operable, and the content must be understandable, meaning that information and interface must be clear and predictable, and also the content must be robust, meaning that the content works reliably across devices and assistive technologies. If you'd like to learn more about WCAG, its background and history, check out the link on this slide. And there's also a very useful map by Intopia, which you can navigate, and it talks about what is covered in version 2.1 WCAG. All right, with this background and this introduction, so what are our challenges as developers and authors? So personally, in my work with faculty, I hear these challenges. For instance, I don't have accessibility training. That is true. I didn't have accessibility training either. In my previous job as an instructional designer, I was actually sent to accessibility workshops to learn more about this topic. As a faculty member, I didn't have that background myself, so I totally understand that I can relate. So I don't know what tools to use. That's another issue. Yes, this is a challenge. We don't know there are so many tools, and there are so little also at the same time. So what tools to use? So accessibility slows me down. And that's true in the sense that I have all the other things to take care of as well. I'm a faculty member. I need to publish. I need to teach. I need to do this and that. So if I want to focus on this, although I want to, and I don't have the training and I don't know the tools, so that just slows me down. It's on my heart and it's on my mind. I would love to do it, but I need more support with this. And also my platform doesn't make it easy. Some platforms are better than the others, right? So for instance, Canvas flags color contrasts. So Pressbooks is currently trying editorially, which is an accessibility tool, to flag areas where developers could focus their attention on. So some platforms do a better job of creating accessible content and helping authors to develop accessible content, and some don't. So what other challenges do you hear? Do you want to share? Yes.
So the biggest question our faculty are having are with the mathematics professors, anything with writing equations out by hand and what that looks like. They want to put their notes in the LMS and what that looks like then for screen reading and the amount of work that they have to put into to make it accessible. They're not happy.
Absolutely. And actually, the examples I'm going to share with you today are coming from a math book and the work that I did with a faculty member at our university. So.
Yeah, kind of a similar problem that I've encountered is working with an electronics professor who has very detailed diagrams about circuits and how they work. and writing alt text for those diagrams is like just a really heavy lift.
Absolutely.
Somewhat related to math is also when it's not just text or image-based content, but interactives, like making PhET simulation or making sure that PhET simulations are operable with a screen reader or other types of H5P sort of materials. We found those to be really challenging.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And you're familiar with this one because this actually happened. We also have faculty who come to us and just don't want to do it.
Mhm.
And they just say, we had somebody, Syed and I worked together, came to us and said, I have never had a blind student. I've never had a deaf student. Why are you making me do this?
Yeah, that's true. Yes. Thank you. Mm. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, these are definitely challenges that we as content developers, authors, platform managers experience, and these are all valid and true. And yeah, let's focus on how we can mitigate these challenges. And maybe what I'm going to share today with you could be a framework that you could operate from going forward and doing this work. Thank you. So I introduced to you, if you haven't already been introduced to, this framework called SLIDE. So the acronym SLIDE stands for Style, Links and Navigation, Images, Design, and Evaluation. So this framework gives us a footing for intentionally going after the areas that could pose accessibility challenges. There's a lot of tutorials out there. There's a lot of content out there. This should be that. I mean, the accessibility work should focus on creating, for instance, alt images, creating subtitles and closed captions for videos. Lots of information, the scattered information, and these are all, the topics that are part of accessibility work. But a framework such as Slide could just give you a footing, give you a platform, give you a foundation based on which you could just go about intentionally making those changes. And this is a framework that I personally operate from to work with faculty authors. So the style part of the framework focuses on consistent, clean, and readable content, which again focuses on having heading styles instead of using bold text or increasing the size of a text, but focusing on the style formatting to make sure a screen reader can understand the different layers and hierarchy of a text, for instance. So using plain language, sticking to clear fonts, for instance, not decorative fonts, sans serifs mostly because they're easier to read, they're more understandable, more readable, more legible for many people. And also large text instead of small, 12 points plus. So left aligning the text instead of justifying the text, and avoiding color only emphasis, and instead focusing on other sorts of emphasis, such as using different styles and headings, and italicizing the text, et cetera, et cetera. So the style part of the framework would focus on creating a consistent, clean, and readable text in your design. So the links and navigation part of the framework focuses on descriptive links, right? And logical tab order in your design. So as we know, links are like signposts. They should make sense out of context. So instead of copying a link abruptly into a page, so we are advised from an accessibility perspective to create descriptive links. For instance, download syllabus, and not ever say, click here, right? So also there should be a logical heading order. So heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, et cetera, et cetera. And then checking keyboard navigation. Once the content is created and developed, we just try to go through the content by clicking tabs on the keyboard and see if the content is tappable, basically. And make sure the content progresses sequentially and correctly across the page. We recently created a dashboard, a data dashboard using Power BI, and everything looked great and looks great, but our content analyst, the one who does the accessibility work, reached out to me and said, your dashboard is not tappable. So basically, you need to make sure when you tap, you move linearly, sequentially across the page. So again, this is a big part of creating links and navigations in your content. And yeah, this is, for instance, a screenshot of 3 platforms: Pressbooks and OER Commons, Open Author, and OEN's Manifold, which show you how you can stylize your text into different headings to create that sort of hierarchy and that sort of structure and layout. And for the sake of demonstration, let's try something together. So here's an example from 2 different excerpts of links and content. So in the first example, you have all the links saying click here, click here, click here, click here. And in the second example, you have descriptive links. And I want to play this. This is narrated through Microsoft Read Aloud. And let's take a listen to this.
Welcome to the course. To review the course schedule, click here. To download the syllabus, click here. To view the reading list, click here. To submit your first assignment, click here.
Okay. So it seems to be contextualized, right? So to review the course schedule, click here. So it's in a way contextualized, right? Those reading this would be able to click here. And let's go to the second example.
Welcome to the course. Review the course schedule for key dates. Download the syllabus PDF for an overview of topics. View the reading list with links to OER materials. Submit your first assignment through the assignment page.
Hey, perfect. So any thoughts on this, you folks? Which one of these do you go for? Neither. Definitely. Okay. So what's the biggest problem with this? With example 1, let's say. We know we need to have descriptive text, but what's wrong, so wrong with example 1? Yes, Hannah.
Sorry. If I'm a student looking at example 1 and I'm going through the items in it, and let's say I'm a week into the course and I need to do an assignment and it's time to turn it in example 1, I have to go through and reread all of these things to find the correct click here in order to go ahead and access that page and turn in my assignment. No one wants to reread their course in order to navigate through it again and again. It's inefficient, time waster, frustration for the student.
Absolutely. That's a great point. Thank you.
It's working. Just as we visually will skim these and read those, and like she was talking about, when you're using a screen reader is using this, they will skim in different mechanisms as well. One of which is hit like L and it goes to all the different links. And if you're just skimming the links, it would say click here, click here, click here. Whereas on the second example, if you're skimming air quotes the links, just hit the next one, it would say course syllabus, course schedule link to, syllabus PDF link. And so it's like the screen reader skimming is enabled by having those descriptive links.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Yes. Yeah, the problem with navigation is the biggest problem here. If you're a student on a screen reader, then and you can't see the content, you can't see the text. So you're using the tab system to find out what's on this page. So when you click tab, it progresses to the next link and it says, click here. Another tab, click here. Another tab, click here. Another tab, click here. You're lost. You're confused. You don't know where to go. Everything says click here. But the second example has descriptive links, and you could just understand what's going on. Yeah. Yes.
Shouldn't it also say that it's an external link, or the screen reader will automatically read external link to the reader?
It could, yes, absolutely. That's a great point. So this is an example of narration by Microsoft Read Aloud. Different screen readers do different things. Some screen readers signal the markup language. This is a link and reads the link, yes. Or this is an image, a picture of this, a picture of that. Totally, but yeah, it depends on your screen reader. And you, as a faculty member or a content developer, do not know what types of screen readers your students are using. Yeah, this is an example of read aloud. Great point, yes. Thank you so much. Moving on. So for images, we all know alt text needs to be part of an image for students on screen readers to have meaningful visuals in the text. So an alt text needs to describe the function of the image if the image is worth content. So decorative images must be marked as decorative or use empty alt text, quote unquote, in the platform. If the platform does not give you an option to mark the image as decorative, maybe you need to go in and just add the markup language, the alt text basically manually. And for complex visuals, as one of the audience members was saying, talking about complicated and complex charts in electronics and other areas. So there must be a different way of going about creating alternate text for these complex images with multiple layers of info. For instance, including a text summary or long description before or after the image, or creating another link to a page where that page includes that information. So also the images, then the images part of the framework lets you focus intentionally on the images part of your design. So I did a test with Gemini, and this is our office in Texas A&M. This is the OpenEd office. And you can see my office picture here, and I uploaded it to Gemini. And here's and I prompted Gemini, I need an alt text for this image under 125 characters because that's the best practice for alternate text. And look, 2 maroon armchairs sit in an office area next to a bookshelf and an open door showing Texas A&M hoodies. What do you think? Do you see the hoodies in the room? It's dark, you can't see them, but AI is seeing everything, folks. I'm telling you. Because yeah, this is these are 3 different hoodies, not one hoodie, maybe hallucination somewhere. Western Oregon University, my previous institution, Washington State University, my other institution, and just Texas A&M in the middle. So a good idea maybe, because faculty tell me, I don't know what alternate text is good enough to convey the message, could be also using AI, using different platforms. But again, it always needs human oversight. Yeah, so here's another image from the math book that I'm going to give more examples of it going on. And I also submitted this to Gemini, and it's supposed to be a good under 125 character alternate text. Anyone in math who would like to tell us if it's a good alternate text? Dan. Dan is my former supervisor. It's great to have you, Dan.
I say it. It's great to see you. No, this is terrible.
That's why AI needs supervision. Thank you, Dan. Yes. So we could use AI, but make sure we just add that human aspect to it, just take a look at it and see how it goes. All right. So on that note, Arizona State University has an image accessibility creator, which you could also use. So I can, yeah, this is a screenshot of their platform. You just drag and drop your image there, and it would give you the description of the image. They use ChatGPT as part of their model, and they tell you the images are not used for teaching and training the model because they use their campus's AI models in a private, connection, such as what we use at Texas A&M. So yeah, make sure everything you have to observe in terms of AI is there. But yeah, this is a good tool to also give it a try to see if it works for you. All right, moving on. The design part of the framework focuses on the inclusivity of your design. So making sure everyone's included and everyone's experience is smoother through your design. So it's about color contrast. It's about responsive layouts, not to embed text in images, for instance, or making sure you use 12-point plus text and sans serif, for instance. So everything else and anything else which is part of good design, inclusive universal design, multiple representations of content, everything could be considered here. It's not just focusing on the technical aspects of accessibility. It could be anything that faculty members know and learn about to make sure their content is accessible on a broader level. And that's the design part of the framework. And finally, evaluate and evaluation. So there are so many automated tools out there which are useful, like Wave, Andy, NVDA, not the ticker for NVIDIA, so although it is, and color contrast checkers, color picker. So there are so many tools that you could just build them into your workflow and use them. And I'll show you how I operate from this framework and use some of these tools to advance the work that I do with faculty in a minute. And then in addition to automated tools, manual checks are important. They have to be because automated tools catch only about 30 to 40% of the accessibility issues. So such as what just Dan told us about that alternate text. So yes, absolutely. So automated plus manual checks would make sure we cover accessibility challenges to the utmost level possible. All right, thank you so much. Do you need a break? It's been a long time, me talking and talking. You're good?
Syed, actually, could I interrupt? Because I believe our virtual attendees had a little bit of confusion when you were going through your presentation about links.
Yeah.
And I believe a question that they needed a little bit more clarification on was from that second example, how would a blind student be able to access those links?
Yes, absolutely. So a blind student would be using a screen reader in most cases, right? And a screen reader is reading the content, moving through the content, the way they have been set up based on their algorithm and their power and their capabilities, basically, depending on what type of a screen reader somebody is using. So the screen reader is going through the content. But then, again, a blind student would use tabs to navigate through the page, in my experience working with blind students. And these tabs will give them an idea how to progress through the page. Yeah. Yes.
Hi, Sayed, and everyone. I was real brief earlier with It's Terrible and your math alt text, and I wanted to elaborate on why. So background, I'm a mathematician. I've been doing accessibility related things to mathematics for a while. when you want to make an alt text description for something highly technical like that, you need to know what the question is that the student's trying to answer so that the alt text is aligned to help them answer that question. And, or there's other things that you can do, but that just, I wanted to add to the three-word sentence that I had that was a little harsh, so.
To Gemini. Thank you, Dan. Appreciate it.
This might be a little too in-depth, but one of the things in terms of thinking about, especially alt text for images and accessibility, is there's also an aspect of pedagogy in there, right? So one of the challenges we've had is you can write a long description, but if part of what you're trying to teach students is the skill of interpreting an image or like a math image, right? If what you want them to do is find the X and Y intercept, like you can't tell that on the alt text, even though that would be the information that they would need. Or in a biology image, if I'm giving them a histology image from an organ, part of what they need to learn is this is how you look at this image and interpret it. So do you have thoughts on how you approach that in also related to kind of the image labels? If I'm giving them a diagram of an organ system and there's labels embedded in the image, like that's how it's labeled, they don't really make sense if I take them out of that image, and I can include that in the whole alt text, but that information isn't being communicated. So it's not necessarily in terms of compliance, it's fine if I just do a simple alt text, but in terms of making that useful for students that are unable to access it, how do I approach that?
Absolutely. This is a great point. And that's why we talk about accessibility not being checking the boxes, but working collaboratively with content experts to make sure everything is accessible. Because as you said, adding an alt text, however it is, whatever quality it has, would check the box, because now Wave tells you, okay, you have met this. All your images have alt text, but is it a good alt text? So that's why, and that's a very good segue to move into the workflow part of this presentation. The first part of working with an author is to work with them collaboratively to make sure that you bring in your expertise with accessibility, and then they bring their own content knowledge into it, and you work together to make sure you get it right. Yes, thank you. This is a great point. So for instance, so this is a workflow I operate from, and we created this at Texas A&M, and it's been shared under CC BY license. You're welcome to use it if it works for you. So the third step, so it's a 6-step process. It moves the authors from the ideation phase to planning, development, refinement, publication, and engagement. And as you can see, the third step in the process has ensuring accessibility and accessibility checks built into the process. So I don't work for authors. I work with the authors personally. So I operate from a work with rather than work for. And that's where the magic happens. That's where your accessibility is not a checkbox. It's a process. It's a collaborative process. You're working hand in hand to make sure the content is accessible. And we start with just having regular meetings about accessibility. So for instance, the example I'm sharing with you moving forward comes from a math textbook. And the author of the book, Vanessa, we have had several sessions going over accessibility basics, going over accessibility challenges. And then Vanessa herself, and you can, by the way, hear her personally if you come to the OEN's publishing meeting next week. So I'm happy to share the link with you, and Katie's here too. So you could hear her own perspective as well. But we start off by building a foundation, going through accessibility topics, creating a Google Doc, for instance, running an initial step, an initial accessibility test using Wave in our process, and NVDA, as a screen reader. We start off with this evaluation phase, and then set up a shared Google document where we put our thoughts, and then we try collaboratively to address those issues, rather than me just using my limited knowledge of math, for instance, to come up with alternate text. We both work in tandem to make sure we do a good job. So this is the book I told you about. It's Functions, Trigonometry, and Systems of Equation by Vanessa Koppel. So there are the two versions of this book, edition 1 and edition 2. You can check it out on your own. And the book, you're welcome to use it as well. So here, for instance, we made some changes in the book. As you can see, in the before shot, you have smaller pictures and less contrast. And we use quick LaTeX as part of the add-on on Pressbooks. We later found out that it wasn't creating alternate text the way we wanted it to. So all the alternate texts were basically saying rendered by quicklatech.com. So all the images in the book. And then we had to switch to MathJax, which is Pressbooks' native platform. And we created alternate text together, which were representative of the image, actually. So this is the design part of our model. And then links, as you can see, we had text links in the text. So number 22 says, see here. We changed it to descriptive text. And again, a skipping of a heading, for instance, in the text here. So you had example 1.33 as a heading 1, then the solution was in a heading 4. So we changed it to make sure the hierarchy is not broken. For images, again, the problem with LaTeX, quick LaTeX, and what we had to do to make sure the alternate texts would be representative of the content instead. And in addition, MathJax adds a broad range of accessibility enhancements to the formula and math expressions as well. So if you right-click the formula and the mathematical expressions, you would see that you have a whole menu of things you can do with the image to make sure it's more accessible. So again, color contrast enhancements and larger text, using WebAIM color contrast checker to make sure our colors are contrastive enough based on WCAG AAA. So while you're at it, maybe you would like to make it AAA, not AA. That's what we did together. And again, running accessibility tests as part of our evaluations as we went on. And I installed and Vanessa installed the add-on, the Wave accessibility add-on, WebAIM accessibility add-on on our browsers. And because it was a Pressbooks, so we were able to run the test directly from our browsers and see how we were doing. And for instance, here, WebAIM is flagging long alternate text for images. And we needed to work together to make sure they were under 125 characters. And recently, we're trying editorially as part of our Pressbooks platform. And again, it's a very good tool. So it's flagging the same long alternate text, as you can see. So it's a great tool for authors to have if you're using a Pressbooks instance at your institution. So installing it would be a good addition to the platform. So to recap and conclude, so build accessibility into the development process, not at the end. It's always good to work with the authors from the get-go. Just talk about it, build a foundation, and move on together. A slide would be a good framework to help developers and authors perceive of and think about accessibility, and also use tools like Wave to flag issues as you go. Review together. This is important. Collaborate on the process. And then maybe other people could test out your content as well. And finally, publish and iterate. Accessibility is a process, not a checkbox. So moving on, we need to keep checking and checking. And some resources for you folks, the fact sheet under new rule and some accessibility and checkers for you. There's some text on accessibility which are useful, and also some checklists and resources. Thank you so much. How am I doing, Jotuan? Okay, all right. Thank you all for the time. I appreciate you. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to. Yes.